but the majority of it is a big mental toughness game, and you got to be able to handle 162 games. You got to be able to handle the playoffs, pressure, long days, long games. A basketball game was what I went to this basketball game and I was done an hour and a half. That's like the fourth inning. So you got to be able to handle all of that, and I feel like mentally, the guys that last the longest in the game are probably more mentally focused and stronger than they are physically.
Welcome to the Commonwealth Club, World Affairs. We have a great treat for you today. We have Jeremy Affeldt, the pitcher for the San Francisco Giants, in interview with Leland Faust, and we are going to, he just said something fascinating about baseball. If he doesn't get to that, I'm going to ask that question later on. So we'll get around to the questions in about 45 minutes or so, and we'll do them live. I'll come around with a microphone so that you can ask your questions directly of him. So I'd like to welcome them to the stage. So Leland Faust and Jeremy Affeldt.
We're delighted to be here today. Talk about baseball, maybe give us a little break from all the serious things that are going on in the world. Before we start, I just wanted to say one thing about our procedure here. Jeremy and I have known each other for a long time, and we had a little discussion about the topics that we were going to talk about, but this isn't rehearsed. So the questions that Jeremy gets, he hadn't heard before directly from me, and so we'll see how he reacts to the pressure. And we talked about the title here about the physical, psychological, and strategic aspects of pitching in the big leagues. So I want to start that way and divide it up that way. So let's start with the physical aspects, Jeremy. Do you think that there's a type of body that is more related to baseball, or does it matter what position you play? How does that work?
That's a good question. First of all, thanks for having me. I appreciate being here and talk about baseball. I do think that there are potentially some body types that fit more with a baseball scenario, but I think it's going to be based on positions. I think that you'll see in pitching, you'll see all kinds of different body. You'll see a Sergio Romo style, right, where it's 5'10", throwing 88 with a nasty slider. Then you see a Brian Wilson, 6 foot, muscular, explosive, and then you'll see the taller guys that are 6'5", 6'6", 6'4". I think mostly they're looking for that. I think they like taller guys with leverage than they do shorter guys. But you'll have some Billy Wagner, Hall of Famer, obviously 5'10", throwing 100 at the knees. But for the most part, I would be looking for 6'2", 6'1", 6'2", 6'3", even taller leverage with some natural arm speed, because we kind of throw with what's called a whip. I feel like they break down less because we got long arms, and we kind of just come through, and then our arm speed picks up as we go. We don't have to be short and explosive, which can tentatively or tends to blow out, I think, more elbows and shoulders because of that, but not all the time. And then with position players, you want shortstops. They used to be shorter. Now they like the tall, stronger, more explosive guys. Third basemen, you want the guys that are a little bit bigger, can knock the ball down, can be moving a little bit more agility-wise. And then your outfielders, I think you want speed guys. I think you want quick first step guys. And you'll see the game is changing. You got like a Judge where he's like 6'8" and 260 pounds, just awesomeness. The guy just run around, and he runs around center field, you're like, that's not what you think a center fielder should be, but he's got a quick first step, so he gets better angles on balls. So it just depends, but I think it can go by position, in my opinion.
It just seems, too, that if you compare football, basketball, and baseball, that baseball is the only one where you have more sort of regular-sized people.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Basketball, you obviously, I went to the Warriors game yesterday, and even the guys that you think are small are not. You're like, oh my gosh, I realized he was that big. He's like 6'6", and he looks like a 5'8" guy out there compared to some of these guys. Football, my son plays football, and same thing. You want these bigger, stronger guys, and I mean, my son's 6'5", 250 as a 17-year-old kid, and explosive, but I wouldn't want to get hit by that guy. But you got to have a body that can handle that kind of hit, right? And take on those hits, and they're so fast. But baseball, it is. You'll see the Greg Maddoxes of the world. He wasn't anything physically spectacular, you'll see different guys in different scenarios, because baseball for me is physical to a point, but the majority of it is a big mental toughness game. And you got to be able to handle 162 games. You got to be able to handle the playoffs, pressure, long days, long games. A basketball game was I went to this basketball game and I was done in an hour and a half. That's like the fourth inning, So, so you got to be able to handle all of that. And I feel like mentally, the guys that last the longest in the game are probably more mentally focused and stronger than they are physically.
We talk there's so much talk in football and even some in basketball about training and running and all that. We don't talk about that as much in baseball, but there's got to be a routine for the guys like yourself at the top of the league, or even anybody who's good enough to be in the majors. Walk me through how you do when you were with the Giants, how you trained in the off season, how did you stay in shape?
Yeah. The staying in shape thing is a very interesting thing for me to discuss, because you can go back into the earlier historical history. I mean, baseball back in the early 1900s, mid 1900s, even in the 80s. I mean, it was like they call it the softball league. I mean, these guys are they're drinking beer, smoking cigarettes, hitting baseballs, and you're just like, you see pictures, old school pictures of those pitchers. They'd have a smag on behind the mound, and they go in there and they tell you, if you did that now, I think people would probably pass out watching. You just took a hit of your cigarette like mid pitch. It just isn't normal. But they played fine, they lasted fine. It was because the stress of the game was a lot different. Travel was different. How the games played, the strike zone was, you see a picture of Yogi Berra standing up, catching a ball, and the guy calls a strike because the ball came across the letters. Now we're throwing to a paper plate, and you're begging for a strike. So you're having to be so much more focused and more physically compact. Hitters the same way, that you do have to train differently now, because your muscles and your body are having to produce some explosiveness and some repetitive movements that are a little bit more dialed in than they were 30, 40, 50, 60 years ago. And so I would train for my position. I didn't train to be a center fielder. I didn't train to be a shortstop. I didn't even train to be a starter. I trained once they kind of told me that I'm a reliever, I'm a setup guy, I'm pitching, could be 1 out or 6 outs. I trained for that. So now I don't have to be as conditioned to go longer, like 6-7 innings, like a Bum or a Vogie or Kane or Lincecum. I had to train to be explosive and repeat my delivery for 6 outs or 30 pitches. If I was out there more than 30 pitches, Boch was having a heart attack, right? So I trained for that. So I rode a bike more than I did run the stadium. I did short sprints more than I did poles. I lifted weights, but I lifted for the bulk, and like if I lifted for lower half, I did short reps. I didn't do longer reps, to repeat my muscular explosion over and over again, because I didn't have to. So you just train differently for that. And now it's way different. Just going into spring training now, you see these guys are not on the field as long because they're trying to keep them ready. Some of it's a little bit, I'm like, man, you guys are getting soft. You don't shag anymore. They don't shag in the outfield. They have these specific routines. They got their milkshakes made for them with all their specific ingredients, and it's like, oh man, you guys better win. If you're getting this kind of catering. But you know what? I understand. I understand it. But it all changes with sports science. And so for me, I didn't train how they train now, but I don't play in the game they play now. I trained for the game that I played, and it was a little different. And And I didn't, the guys in the early 90s and 80s, they didn't train how I trained, right? So it was completely different. But the sports science is a real thing, and it's a good thing. And I think guys are going to have a lot more longevity in their joints because of what they're developing now and how they eat, et cetera.
When you're playing a long season, is there any difference between how you physically prepare and what your daily routine is, whether you're home or on the road?
Yeah, a little bit. On the road, I don't get to the ballpark as early because we frankly, for me, the road trips were a recovery time for me. Like when you're at home, you get your family, right? So your sons or your daughters do not care that you got home at midnight and played 13 innings. They're going to wake you up at 8 in the morning, jumping on your bed saying, Daddy, right? Like, I want to play. Because you're home. And I get that. And it's very important. You're worried and you're like, man, okay. And then sometimes I'd be like, oof. I remember looking and I'd be like, hey, I got to go to the ballpark early because I need to take a nap, So I go to the ballpark and I go into the sleep room, get my extra sleep, But on the road, you didn't have that. My family came with me on certain trips, not all trips, but I used it. I got rest, I got sleep, I slept in a little bit. I knew I didn't have to be at the ballpark at 1 o'clock because you don't start BP till later, so I get to the ballpark at 2, 2:30. So you get a little bit more time to just kind of rest and take care of yourself, which you'd have to. Travel's very hard, and your body, how it reacts to travel is very different. I mean, the dehydration, the joint swelling from travel, you're used to, okay, you play a game here at 7. Well, if you're in New York 2 days later, you're playing at 7 there, which is, it's 4. So you're like, whoa, your body's like, hold on, we're playing already. And then once you get used to the 7, you come back and now you play a 7 o'clock game here, that's 10. And your body just got used to the East Coast change, so it should be in the 8th inning, and it's not even the first yet. And your body, it's just really hard on your joints and your body, and you will break down because of it. So you have to eat appropriately, you have to get rest appropriately, you have to hydrate. You got to think about all these things based on home and on the road. You do have to do that, and weather. Could be humid, could be hot, could be cold. I mean, Timmy was very lean, right? He was a very lean guy. He wasn't a big guy that threw high velocity, and he was a dominant, and he would go 8 innings. He was just that good, but his body felt it. So he'd be in DC pitching, and before the game, he'd get 2 IVs because he had to hydrate his veins enough to be able to maintain, because you just drink a bunch of water, you get rid of it quickly, right? You can't retain that. Well, if you IV it, it holds in your system longer. So now when he's sweating, you have to think about all those things. Colorado, you got to have oxygen. I mean, Pablo hits a triple, better get that tank out there, like if I come running in from the outfield and I got to run, half a mile because they put us way out in Timbuktu, and you run in, you're like, oh man, like I'm out of breath. I got to figure out how to pitch to, Todd Helton right now with the bases loaded, and I can't even see because I'm breathing too hard, So like, you got to think about all those things where you're at. So it can be difficult.
On the physical aspects of it, there's talk all the time about tweaking mechanics. But how does that work? You get to the big leagues, you've already established yourself as good. Anybody who plays 1 day in a big league is a good player, even if they're not good major leaguers.
That's right.
But so you have mechanics. How does it work that you might change them? How does a pitching coach work? Does it matter if you have a different pitching coach? What's going to happen?
Yeah, so that's a very good question, Leland. So I didn't learn this until about my 7th year in the big leagues. I went with Kansas. I was in Kansas City from 97 to 06, halfway through before I got traded to Colorado. And I went through like 5 pitching coaches in the big leagues and like 5 in the minor leagues. Well, they all have a certain style. They have a certain thought process, and so you're always changing, mixing, do this, try this, do this. So you're just like, you really don't know who you are. And I remember meeting a guy named David Cook, and David Cook is a sports psychologist. He's number 1 on the PGA Tour, probably the main guy on PGA Tour. He's a Spurs sports psychologist on their run. He was Baylor's when they won the national championship. He wrote the book, The Sacred Journey, the movie made 7 Days in Utopia. Robert Duvall's in it. It's a phenomenal book on just about a golfer that imploded and he brought him back. It's a good story. And I met with him and he got me to think about certain things. He said, I want you to throw a portrait, a blank canvas on a wall, and I want you to paint. And he had a golfer paint his shot. Tell me your shot. And so he said, well, this is what I'll do. Okay, how are you going to do that? What club are you going to use? How are you going to hold it? What's your thought process? The guy didn't know. So he helped me develop those same things. Why do you throw the way you throw? Why do you have this arm slot instead of this arm slot? Why do you have this pitch instead of that pitch? Why do you hold this grip instead of this grip? And he made me go through everything to have a reason why I needed to trust my stuff. So that when you get a pitching coach, could be good, could be bad. Very fortunate in San Francisco. Dave Righetti, Mark Gardner. I mean, Rags is like a savant. Like, I mean, he sees your pitch before you're going to throw it, you know? So, like, but you have to be careful with all of them because they're all trying with good intentions. They're trying to help you. But if you don't know why you do a certain thing, then they don't have to keep you throwing that way. So they're going to change you. And if you're always getting changed, especially at the big league level, there's no time to practice that. If you try to change your grip or change your slot or change your hands or be quicker to home, well, there's guys that are paid $20, $30 million a year to hurt your feelings. They're not going to be like, oh, hey, man, just take a couple practice pitches with your new arm slot. We'll see how it works. You know, they're like, oh, I can't wait till he leaves it inner half and I take it into the bay. You know, like there's no crying in baseball, right? Like that's kind of the deal. So for me, I had to find out this is why I throw the way I throw. This is why I hold this grip. This is why I throw this arm slot. I finally went down and broke all that. I became a better pitcher. You look at my baseball card from 02 to 06 and then turn it over from 07 to when I pretty much retired. I don't count the last year. Don't look at that last year. That was a really rough one. You know, but you'll see a drastic number change because I finally understood who I was, why I was, and why I did what I did. So now that when Rags or Gardy are talking to me and they try to change me, I have a spot, well, this is why I throw it like that, so why would I change that? And they're like, oh, okay. So you throw it like this, so, well, let's work on better extension. They can work with that. If you don't have a reason why you do something, they're going to change it all, which that's their job, right? So they'll be like, well, if it's not working, let's change it. Or, no, this is where I feel comfortable. How do I change what I'm doing or make what I'm doing better within this slot? Because this is why I throw this way, and this is my mentality. And so that way you can be more coachable. And so it's very important to know that. And that's what some of these young guys are trying to do with all the analytics. It's actually probably paralyzing them a little bit, but they're trying to do that with some of these screens and these computers. But in reality, you got to have your own feeling. You got to have your own reason why you do what you do, and that's kind of what I learned.
One thing that's prevalent in any sport is the question of raw talent versus coaching and training, your ability to work hard. How do you think that plays out in the big league? How many of the guys are there because they just have such incredible talent, and how many of the guys are there because they had enough talent but really worked hard to get there?
Yeah, man, great questions, Leland. You should write a book. You know what?
Where do you fit into that, by the way?
I fit into some raw talent, got me to where they looked at it as his ceiling's high, but we have to refine it. So I was a kid at 17 years of age. I was a left-handed pitcher in this small school. I went to a really small school in Spokane, Washington, 500 kids K through 12, throwing 91 miles, 2 miles an hour at 17. I didn't know where it was going. I just thought it was funny because everybody was scared to hit off me, you know? So I'd throw as hard as I could right at them and laugh because I'd be like, oh, I got you. Oh, you're scared, you know? But I just threw hard. That's all I did. I didn't know necessarily where it was going. I knew I had a good curveball and a good split. I had zero coaching. My dad was it was an Air Force. He was a radar navigator. We traveled around with him around the world. They were median income family. They didn't have the money to just have all these special people working with me, right? So my dad was like, have at it. Like, I don't know, throw it up there. Like, that's all he got behind a trash can to catch me. Like, that's all he would do, you know, because you have catcher's gear. So, like, it was that, right? I just had raw talent. But then when I got, and I didn't go to college, I had a full ride with Gonzaga, and I chose not to do that. I chose to go for the Royals. They drafted me in the 3rd round. And I'm thankful I did. I wouldn't say I knew exactly it was the right decision. I think it just worked out that it was the right decision. But it was the right decision because now I got the best of the best. You got professional coaches working with you with a pitch count. They're being very focused on you. I was a high enough round draft pick where they had to keep me within certain, I was more controlled by the team because you weren't like a 50th rounder that was like, if he doesn't make it, he doesn't make it. This is, hey, we have some money invested into him as a 3rd rounder, so we got to take good care of him. So I was very thankful for that. But I had a lot of coaching. I struggled a lot early in my minor leagues. I didn't spend that much time in the minor leagues. I was athletic enough to know that once I figured it out, I'd excel. But I really struggled early because I just didn't have the ability to throw at a professional level when it comes to the strike zone. And so I had to really work hard at that. And most kids will quit. Most people are like, they have to work that hard. It's not worth it. The minor leagues are there for a reason. You have NFL, you got college, NFL. NBA, you got college, NBA. You have some kind of a minor league type scenario in the NBA, but not really. Yeah. You know, so you have that. Baseball, you've got rookie ball, short season, A ball, high A, double A, triple A, big leagues, back down to the triple A, some of these guys. Like, there's a lot, and they do it because they're weeding you out. Because they want to know, not necessarily is it your raw talent, not necessarily is it your coaching, can you handle it? Can you handle it up here? If you can handle it up here, we can work with it. If you can't handle it up there, I've seen guys with tremendous amount of talent, some of the best coaching since they were 5 years old, and they've got unbelievable ability to throw strikes and hit and all this stuff, and then mentally they crack and they're out of the game. They can't handle it up top. So for me, it's the mental side more importantly than the raw talent and the coaching. But I think most baseball players have the talent, ceilings high, get good coaching in front of them, hone them in, they can athletically do it. You're going to have very few guys like a Tim Lincecum. I mean, his dad developed his mechanics, and then they just let him go. The guy never struggled. I mean,
well, it just seems to me that at the top level, it's always got to be a combination. You have to have a certain minimum level of talent, or you can't be there. And then, you know, the guys that end up being the all-stars versus the starters have a lot to do with just how hard they worked, and some of it seems to be talent.
Yep.
Let's talk about some of the other, you've talked a little bit about the psychological aspects and how some of the guys just can't handle it. What about once you're in the big league, so anybody's gotten that far. Now there's, especially, we'll talk about you in pitching, we could talk about hitters too, but different situations that arise in your career or, in individual matters in the games. Let's talk about a career first. What's the difference on the pressure you feel your first or second year in the majors when you're trying to make sure you're going to stay there versus, you've been there 7 years, you're going to stay. How does that play out in terms of how you perform? Or are you thinking about it when you pitch, or it has to back of your mind? How does it work?
Yeah, I think that's very important. So to be able to stay in the big leagues, you got to be able to repeat your delivery and make adjustments. It's simple, but it's not that simple. And to be a starter, I came into the big leagues I started all throughout the minor leagues because I needed the innings. Then I made the team with Kansas City at a spring training in 2002. They had to put me as a reliever because they didn't have any rotational spots. And I forced my way on the team by how I pitched in spring training. So I became a long reliever. And then I became a starter. And then I had some blister issues. I just, for whatever reason, I dealt with a lot of injury scenarios when I started. But I could not, I would be mentally just spent before the game because I spent all day thinking about who I'm facing, got to go to the field, who am I, I got to start today. I'm just sitting here. And so by the time the game started, I already spent all my mental energy thinking about what I was going to possibly do during the game. I just couldn't figure it out. But as a reliever, you don't know when you're pitching, so you don't spend it, right? You're just like, boom. And so for me, the pressure as a young player to they're looking to move you out. You made the team, weren't supposed to make a team, or they brought you up to see what you could do. Give them an excuse to try somebody else out because they don't have to pay you. If you don't do good, they're not paying you. They don't have to give these contracts to you. So they're like, all right, we'll move you in and out. But they want sometimes a reason to move you. Or they're like, hey, we want you here, but you've got to repeat. You've got to do this every day, and the pressure's there. The double-decker stadiums, the minor league to major league pressure is so much different when you have 500 people come into a game in San Jose and they're doing dizzy bat races to going to three-decker stadiums, 46,000 people, and it's $1 billion business, and it's not a development league. It's a do league right now, and you've got to perform, or you cannot be here. And they put that pressure on you for a reason. Because if you can handle it and you can stay, they know when you get 6-7 years in the big leagues, you can now mentor. But then also you got guys like Bochy, who doesn't want a young kid coming in the 6th or 7th inning and walking the house. He wants a guy that's like, hey, who can actually pitch in a game when it matters? 2-1, pressure, like, there's tons of pressure, there's people, there's runners everywhere, they're trying different ways to score runs, and that person is just like, nah, I'm good. I've been there, done that, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, I know what my controllables are, I know what my uncontrollables are, I've been in these situations before a lot of times, I know what I should do and what I shouldn't do. That, as a manager, I used to not understand why a Lou Piniella, a Bruce Bochy, probably a Bob Melvin, a Buck Showalter, Joe Torre, they don't want rookies. They don't like them. They don't like them. But why would you if you're a winning manager? I wouldn't like them either. I really wouldn't. I'd be like, I don't have time to be like, oh, it's okay if we lost 2-1 and you give a 2-run homer. You're young. What? Like, we just lost 2-1 and I'm trying to win a pennant, you know, like, so I get that. And what Bochy liked was young guys that he could bring in, develop with a bunch of veteran guys.
But how does that affect you as the younger player? As you just said before, sometimes especially when you're a starter, you'd obsess about it.
Yep.
I have a little story I'm going to tell in a second about that, because I think that sometimes seems to me there's unnecessary pressure put on the players, especially the pitchers.
Yep.
But if you're a rookie and you go out there and are you worried, oh my God, if I don't perform, I'm going to go back to the minors? Or is that just something that you think about when you're having dinner or before the game and not during the game?
You know what? I think it's both and. Because I think when you're young and you're on a team that your all eyes are on you to see if you can do it, you start actually putting more pressure on yourself than you need to. And I think that's the problem. The problem as a young player is you actually think that you are the reason why you won or lost a game. And that's not necessarily true. And every pitch is like the end of the world. Like, if I don't make this pitch right here, my kids aren't eating tomorrow. The sun doesn't come up. Yeah, it does. It comes up. It's done that for thousands, whatever years. Like, it comes up. It just does its thing, So it's not the end of the world, but it's similar to your young adolescent son that's 15 years old and he thinks one thing goes wrong and it's like, I'm a terrible human, or no, you're fine. Well, it's the same as a young player in the big leagues. Just because you make a mistake doesn't mean that everybody hates you. But you think they do. You think the ownership's upset at you. You think the management's probably going back there and let's talk about if this kid can handle it. They don't really always talk about that. A lot of times they talk about how can we get this kid on track, or how can we get this kid here? He's got the stuff. How do we make sure he stays, because we need him here long term, because they look at it long term. How do we make him? But you're in your locker thinking that your teammates don't like you, fans don't like you, the owner doesn't like you, the manager's mad at you, and everybody's like, what? It's like one game, dude, relax. But that's not how a young kid thinks. Where if I give up a 2-run homer, here at 10, 11 years in the big leagues, I give up a 2-run homer, we lost the game, and I'd walk off and I'd be like, well, probably shouldn't do that again. But I went home. Like, the day is going to start tomorrow. I couldn't do that as a young player.
Just observing, over the years, well, A, as a fan, but B, having been professionally involved with so many players, it seemed to me, and this is the example I'm going to give that I said before, that the teams put unnecessary pressure on the player sometimes by just emphasizing things that, needn't be emphasized. Relax before you go into a game.
Right.
So my story is, for many years I had represented a starting pitcher, and he's played years with the Giants, and they got traded, and so he's coming back into town. I said, hey, I want to have lunch with you, and I want to chat, and he said, I can't have lunch today. I said, well, why not? I'm pitching tonight. I said, well, wait a sec.
Yeah.
I'm going to have lunch at noon. You're pitching at 7:30.
Yeah.
Well, I got to think about it and practice. I said, wait a minute, you're just making this worse than it is. You're
right.
obsessing about it. I said, I promise you, I'm not going to give you any bad news about your finances. So I just need to talk to you. I want to talk to you.
Yeah.
So he said, grumble, and he finally said, okay. So he had lunch with me, and that day he pitched a two-hitter shutout.
Yeah.
So that was the end of having him not want to have lunch with me anymore.
Yeah. But now it's every time he starts, he's flying you in.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
But the point was, I just thought that the idea that he had to have this kind of unneeded pressure, you got to think about this all day, that seemed to me is exactly what you didn't want to.
You don't want to do
didn't
that.
want to do.
That's right.
What about the difference in how you pitch and how it affects you psychologically? When you go into a game, you come in the 7th inning and you're up 3, or you come in the 7th inning and it's tie game. Explain the difference in how that plays out.
Yeah. So that's being a veteran thought process. And like I said, I learned it later. People always ask, like, why do you pitch so much better in the playoffs? Like, how your numbers away are in the playoffs versus in the season. I didn't pitch any different. I didn't pitch any different. But the pressure's different. So a hitter in the playoffs thinks, I'm going to be the hero. The energy's here. We got to win. And a pitcher's the same way a lot of times in the playoffs. It's like, I got to make this pitch. And in the season, you're like, it's 162 games. Like, we're up 3. Like, I can give up a run. I'm good. Well, a tie game, can't give up a run. In reality, it's the same game. I don't really want to give up a run whether we're up 3 or tied. I just don't want to give up a run. My job is to keep my team in a favorable position to win this game, to get in and get out and get the ball to the next guy, to the closer. So I don't want to make it any more pressure-packed on the closer or the manager's pacing over there. Now because I gave up a run, he's got to mix and match. He's got to put this guy here because the chess game just changed, right? So I would go out there, and for me, I tried to think the same way every time. When I ran out there up 3 or tied, it doesn't matter. That's not my controllable. My controllable is not how many runs I have or don't have. My controllable was I've got to face these guys and I have to execute my pitch the best I can and let the cards fall where they may. Sometimes I gave up a run. Sometimes I'd leave it over and give up a homer. And then you'd be like, oh, man, well, thank God I got 2 more to give up yet before I go. You almost felt like that. In a tie game, I didn't necessarily feel that, but I still focused and pitched to not lose. I basically was like, I'm going to win. I want to win this game, not to not lose. I went out there and said, I want to win this game. This is how we're going to pitch to win this game. I'm holding this game exactly where it is so that when my offense comes up next inning, nothing has changed. And the reliever that comes in after me, the same situation that I came in, he's got. I don't want to change that for him. So that's how I focus through that, where a young player doesn't necessarily see it that way. They see, oh my gosh, it's tie game. I can't give up a run. No, you can. Javi Lopez taught me that. He said something to me. He's like, the problem is we go with can'ts and have tos, and you got to get away from those. You want to. I want to pitch well, not I have to pitch well, or I have to get this guy out. No, I want to get this guy out. I can walk him. 3-2 count, bases loaded. Oh, I can't walk a guy here. No, I can. I can. I can walk him actually if I throw a ball. I can. I don't want to, but so you got to say no. I don't want. I want to get him out. Not I have to throw a strike. No, I want to throw a strike. So everything relaxes. Your mind relaxes when you want to do something versus have to do something. If you think about the word have to, everybody in here should automatically say the word have to. Everybody should tense up. I have to. You know, well, that's not how you play. You play loose. So I want to do this, okay? So I'm going to throw a strike. Boom. I want to throw a strike. Anyway, you get it. So for me, it's all a mental game. The guys that do a lot better at this game, especially at the end of the game, closers are all crazy. They're all nuts. Name it. There's not a normal one out there. Like, they're all a little off because they have that mentality of like, oh, cool. This is like a video game, you know, like, you know, it's not really. I mean, there's 50,000 people and the owners, you know, kind of needing you to win. You know, it's not a video game. You don't have a cheat code on your remote, you know, like, but that's how they think about it. You know, they think, I mean, Brian Wilson thought he had ninjas in his beard telling him what to pitch, you know, like he's just odd, you know. So you got to have that mentality, though, because if you get into the other side of it, this tie ball game, 3-run thing, it's too much for your brain. It's just too much for you to handle, and you won't last in the game.
Well, you mentioned something which I've paid a lot of attention to over the years, and that is the closer versus other relief pitchers. And I have taken the position in numerous articles I've written that the idea of a closer is just a myth. That, yeah, there's a guy who comes in the ninth inning with the lead, but it's way over, in my view, way over emphasized, and the importance is not there. As a sort of a setup man who might have to face much more difficult positions,
right.
You come in the eighth inning with a guy on second and, you know, a 1-run lead. The closer comes in the ninth inning with a 2 or 3-run lead and nobody out.
Right.
So what do you think about that?
No, you're right on that. And again, it's all a mentality. So you'll see a lot of guys that pitch the 7th, 8th inning. And Bochy kind of I learned so much from Boch, even though I should have known before I met him. But it was a really cool deal as I started understanding certain scenarios. So you could be a great 7th inning pitcher facing the 3, 4, 5 hole hitters, 1, 2, 3. Now you're a closer. All of a sudden you come in, you're like, oh, I need different music.
Yeah.
I got to have something. I got to come in crazy. I got to run with a flag behind me or have a mohawk or, you know, like I need to come in. I need to be all angry. Why don't you just do it like you faced guys in the 7th inning and just go 1, 2, 3, you know? But they're thinking, well, it's the last out of the game. You know, back against the wall, the players, the hitters are coming up there like, hey, I'm going to figure out how to do this, and you're going to get my most focus. No, the hitter still wants to get a hit in the ninth, just like he wanted to get in the 7th, or wanted to get hit in the 3rd, or he wants to hit a homer in the 3rd, just like he wants to hit a homer in the 9th. It doesn't really matter. But everybody thinks it's different because the environment changes. The fans start standing up and get on their feet and cheer. The music. Now you got what they do here. They shut the lights off, and you have like a nightclub when the freaking closer comes in. You're like, what are we doing? Like, you're just causing more anxiety to everybody. Fans and players, you know, and then the other teams like, oh, this is awesome. Like, you know, they're coming in thinking, oh, we'll ruin their night. I wouldn't want a target on my back. If I was a closer, I'd want to just sneak in there. Like, I don't play any music. Keep it all quiet. Like, they don't even let them know here, you know. So there's a lot of that going on, but it is a mentality but Boch, I was upset one year because he didn't close me. I'm like, I can handle the closer role, man. I'm fine. And he's like, yeah, but the problem is I need you in the 7th. I'm like, why? He's like, because the meat of the order is in the 7th inning a lot of times. If you look at most of these games, 7th, 8th inning, you're going to face the meat of the order. Very rarely, and this isn't a knock on closers, closers have to get it done regardless. That's why that's their role is a little differently. You don't have like, hey man, you got to get these 3 guys out, and if not, I'm going to switch you. The closer's out there to win or lose the game. So they're not coming to save you most of the time. If you know how to do your job, they're going to trust you with it, right? So it's a little different. But for me, Boch should say, but I need you in because there's a lot of lefty-right, lefty matchups. There's a lot of switch hitters in our league right now that are in the meat of the order, and I need you to throw to those situations. I don't need you to close. I need you to end because most of the games statistically, and Leland, you might know this better than me, you're a bigger, more statistic guy, but when I was in the game, statistically, it seemed like the game was won and lost in the 7th or 8th, more than it was won and lost in the 9th.
Well, there's no question, statistically, that's the case. One study that I saw a number of years ago, I think, demonstrated that the whole idea of this closer is way overrated. And what they did was they looked at all major league games, 1960, 80, 2000, and in 20, and I think they did it every 10 years, so I might just misstated it. Anyway, the question which they looked at was if the major league team was ahead going into the ninth inning, anything, 1 run, 10 runs, didn't matter, just what percentage of the games did that team win? And from 1960 to 2020, every 10 years, there was almost no difference in the percentage, even though in 1960 you had no closers.
Yeah, right.
And in 2010, 2020, you had a lot of, everything was closer. Right. And the difference, since we're literally less than 0.5% at the up one to the other, but the interesting number was the overall number was 95%.
Yeah.
So if you were ahead by any amount, you're going to win 95% of the time. So I think that tells us that the closer is, way overvalued.
Yeah, I see that. Yeah, and a lot of times guys want to close because the pay structure.
Yeah.
Right. Like, you're going to get paid $15 million a year versus $5 million a year, right? Well, no one's crying either way for you, right? Obviously, but there is a pay structure change, and even though, and that's the biggest thing with us, the reason why the mid reliever guys, the setup guys, sometimes we get frustrated with teams is because when we went to negotiate, we didn't have a statistic. Our only statistic was an L. We didn't get a win. We only got a loss. If we blew the game, we got a blown save or a loss. That we had a BS or an L next to it. And the BS I changed for other words sometimes, but a closer got the save, or he got the win, or he got the loss. So he's got all these statistics. So when they started bringing in the hold, that helped us. And I was for the hold. And a lot of guys were like, well, that's just a made-up thing. It is a made-up thing, but we have to have something, because when we go to the negotiation table, we have to have something to show that we do our job. So if I've got 35 holds, that means 35 games that I came in, I held where it was at. And that means I gave us 35 of those games, I gave us a chance to win the game. Right? That helps me when I'm pitching 70 ball games, or I'm in 70 appearances, and holds. Now, if holds were only given to you within certain parameters, right? Just like a save was given to you. But I held a situation where we could close out the game. So if the closer had 40 saves that year and I had 35 holds, I was participating in most of those situations. Therefore, now I have something to give an ownership to say, this is why I deserve to be paid a certain way. I have a statistic. Or they can hold you, they can do whatever you want. Before we had holds, I started half the games in Kansas City. I closed in, I ended up becoming the closer the last 2 months. And they took me to arbitration as a lefty specialist because I had no statistic. So now I'm super mad at the Royals because I'm like, yeah, this is why we all stink, because your ownership stinks and you guys are terrible. You stink in negotiation and you make us all feel like garbage. This is why no one wants to play for you. So we needed something. And so when they brought in that hold, that helped our structure, but it also gave us an identity. And the importance of what all the statistical guys are figuring out, yeah, that hold's probably a lot more important than that save, because 95% chance we're going to win this game if whoever's pitching. That statistic's not the same in the 7th and 8th inning. There's a lot of wins and losses decided in that time frame, so that it's really important.
Well, it seems to me certainly one statistic that would apply and would get around all of that is the so-called WAR, wins above replacement, and it's a statistic that a lot of people, even fans, don't know about, but it's pretty powerful. Wins above replacement is a calculation of how many wins you bring to your team above if you were replaced, strangely but true, by the best minor league player, not even a major league player. And it's proven very accurate. In other words, if you look at what they assign to each player on a team, add it up, see how many wins they get in a year, you just after the fact, it correlates really, really well. I know that one year when I looked at this very carefully, the setup men, on average, had better WAR than the closers. So, in fact, the setup men were contributing more to their team than the closers, who were, as you say, getting paid more. So, an average. What do you think in general about the analytics versus the old school, this is what I feel like kind of manager?
Yeah. Man, I don't know. I'm still on your other statistics. I wonder if I can go to the Buster and get back pay.
There you go.
But hey, man, technically, I think I should have been paid a whole lot more. I wonder if you can throw me some extra cash for all those years that we pitched. But what was your question this time? Because I was stuck on the other one. I was seriously thinking about back pay.
Old boy managing versus analytical managing.
Oh, yeah.
And by the way, and in a general sense too, the role of the manager, how important do you think that is?
Oh, man, well, it depends. It depends on how you're running the ball game. If you're running it from a pure analytical standpoint, there is no role for a manager. He's just told, hey, you got to pull this guy. Here's what the statistics say, right? That's where the Bochy's of the world and the Melvins, they're not going to see probably eye to eye on full analytics. I think the analytics is not inherently bad. It just doesn't have to be everything. Right, because you don't know heart, you don't know injury. The computer doesn't know any of that stuff. The computer says, well, he should face that guy, except for when that guy comes in to face this guy in that situation, he panics. The computer doesn't know that, right? The computer doesn't know those situations. I believe the old school is way better. The reason being is because a Bruce Bochy has a relationship with his players, and he understands what players can do in what situation. Not necessarily with the computer. Well, based on this guy's ability to hit this guy, he should win, so put him in. Okay, but he's got a hamstring problem right now, so he's not going to be his best. Or he you know what? He's just mentally not there. At his best, he should get him out. But right now, he's kind of struggling mentally with his approach, so he's not trusting his stuff. So he's pitching scared, which we all go through. I went through it my entire career. You'd have days where you're out there like, oh my gosh, I hope I just throw it over the plate right now. Like please hit it somebody, because I don't know how. And there's other times where it's like I can't wait to pitch today because I can pretty much underhand it up there and get a guy out. Like I'm that good right now. So your confidence level changes, but an old school manager would know that. Like a Bochy's going to know, like, no, you can handle it. Or it's like right now, no, because I've just thrown you 5 out of the last 9 days. You're probably tired. Your ball's elevating. I'm not throwing you right now. And I got you up, warmed you up 7 times in the last 3 games, never put you into the ball game. Computer doesn't know any of that stuff. Yeah. So there's analytics that should be used to help you make an educated decision, but then there's the gut that comes with like being 25 years in the big leagues as a manager. That's what I would trust over a guy that you bring in that's never been a manager, that he's a guy that's like, I don't know, just hand him a piece of paper and he'll just relay it. That's not managing to me, because I don't believe managers lead people. Baseball managers. I know it's called a manager, but I don't think they manage anything. I think good managers lead very well. They lead people. They handle people. They take care of people. They understand when guys need days off. That's how you appropriately manage, not using a computer to tell you who should be in and who shouldn't. And I think that's where some of these old school managers get frustrated. So when a Bochy leaves and he goes to Texas, and Texas says, run the game how you want, and he wins another World Series, and he probably flipped up the bird a few times to the Giants, after he won, like, hey, got you, I win, my way's better. Like, that's important. That's important to see that. And I think when you bring a guy like Buster in, that he understands analytics from a standpoint of like, I use it as an education, but I'm going to let Melvin manage. You're going to see a different energy, than you would if you just purely went with just analytics. And I think that's where you have to allow people to have gut, man, because man, it's super important when it comes to confidence and when it comes to guys believing. You got to let them know that you believe in them. And if a computer says you can't do it, well, anytime you tell an athlete he can't, they're going to go one of 2 ways. One, they're going to try to prove you wrong, or 2, they're not going to do it. You just said I can't, so I'm not, right? And it's very hard for anybody to prove it if you're only going with computer stuff.
Okay, one last question, very specific to pitching. and that is, what's the role of the catcher that you work with, and how much does it matter to you who's catching on a day? I know there's some pitchers that starters have insisted, when I start, this guy catches, and others that, just take whatever's there and don't make a deal out of it. How does that work?
I think you got to trust the catcher. If I've got two guys I can trust, no big deal. Like, not a big deal at all. Like Buster, for me, we trusted him. I'd want him catching majority of the time. But Eli Whiteside, he was an unbelievable catcher. He knew the game. He knew what he wanted. He knew why he wanted you to throw it. I trusted him, so I didn't care if I was like, great, either way is fine by me, But then if you have a guy like Buster, and then Buster needs a day off, and we just brought a guy up from AAA that doesn't know the league and he's catching, I'm trying to figure out if I pulled a hammy that day and can't pitch, because I'm like, I don't feel right, I don't want to go in there, because you don't know when he puts a fastball or curveball down, you don't know if he's like, well, I think this is the right pitch. I don't want to throw to a guy that's like that, because now if I want to shake, I'm like, no, it's not the right pitch, but why are you calling that pitch? Or I don't feel good with that pitch, but are you saying something? Where with Buster, it was like, I don't want that pitch, and he'd throw it down again. I'd say, no, I don't feel like that's a good pitch, and he'd throw it down again. And if you shook him off again, he'd come out and let you know real quick why you are not as good as him. Like I'm a pretty good hitter and a pretty good catcher, so just do what I say. Yes, sir. That's kind of how we say, yes, Buster, I apologize for offending you. So like that's kind of how that works. So you'd have that, but when you can't trust your catcher, you second guess yourself. When you second guess yourself, you're going to get hit. And even if it's the right pitch, it still gets hit because you don't throw it with conviction. So hitters pick up on that real quick. And I didn't trust Buster in 09. He came up in 09 for a little bit in September, and I'm like, great. We got this guy behind the plate. And I'm like, probably glad my thoughts weren't aired out to everybody, because that's exactly what I was thinking out there. And then when he came up in 2010, same thing. We just got rid of Molina. Guy's pretty good. Yeah, he's a pretty good catcher. But the whole family is good, So like they all know. So then when Buster comes in, you're like, I don't know, man. And then you were like, you go with him, and like, okay, I gotta trust it until I don't. And all of a sudden, you just start succeeding under him to a point where I didn't let anybody razz him. Like as a rookie, we still did some fun stuff with the rookies. He's off limits. I don't need him mad at me when we go out there and pitch tomorrow. Like, I want him loving me, so nobody touch Buster. So we made Buster off limits to any of the rookie stuff. We needed him happy with us. We didn't need him mad at us. So,
well, that's interesting. I think before we open this up to questions, I would just comment on something that you kind of mentioned in passing, and that is how important your playoff role was. Maybe compared, if that's the right word, to your regular season. And the stat guy that I am, I looked some stuff up.
Yeah.
And during the regular season, Brian Wilson, who was the superhero in 2010, during the regular season with the Giants, his WAR against yours was 1/10 of a game a year difference. So that's how much more he contributed during the year. But in the playoffs, he only pitched 11 innings in the playoffs ever, and you pitched 26.
Yeah.
And tied, as I understand it, tied the best relief pitcher ever for 23 scoreless innings in the playoffs and in the World Series.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
that's what huge contribution to those three World Series. That's for sure. All right. Anyway, why don't we open it up now for questions?
I was wondering if anybody has asked your advice or help with Camilo Doval.
Yeah, so I saw Doval in spring training, and he was awesome. And he was just dominant. But he's having fun, And I think it was the aspect of, some people are like, well, it's spring training, so, it's just practice. I think mentality, it wasn't. I think it was, he still threw the same speed he's throwing now. He wasn't throwing any slower. He was just enjoying it, And he's like, he didn't have to. I think he's in the have-tos right now. I have to prove that I'm going to get back to my closer role. I have to get this guy out, and so you tighten up, and you're like, you freak out a little bit. And Casilla, I was not there, but Casilla was there before me, and I was just talking to some of the guys, and Casilla had gone up to Duvall and said, "You don't act like you even want to be here. You got to have fun. Enjoy it. Don't act like it doesn't matter. You look like you don't care. Care, man. Love it. Challenge them." And they ran these challenges in spring training. I don't know what they're doing now. I'm hoping maybe they need to do it again on, quality strikes and first pitch strikes, and you could win a prize. And it's amazing that these guys make millions of dollars, and they cared about winning the box of 3 golf balls. I'm like, that's like $15, man. But they were like, "I'm getting those 3 golf balls." I'm like, all right, well, each their own. You can buy probably 500 of them, but but that's what they want because it's a little competition, right? But I think what happens is when you get into the season when it counts, and that double-decker starts having the lights go on and the expectation level goes up, you get into the have-tos. He's got to want to and relax and be like, "Man, I'm just going to throw my stuff up there," because his stuff was pretty good in spring training. And he's probably pitching a little differently, and it's like I said, most of it's up here. So someone has to get to him on that side of it.
Yeah, thank you very much for your comments. It's very interesting.
Yep.
I'd like to follow up on one thing you said about the psychology versus the performance, specifically the right-left imbalance and bringing a new pitcher in because it matches better. Mm-hmm. It seems I've seen many times where a relief pitcher is just humming along, and then the manager will take him out because suddenly you've got some left-handed batters coming up. And I'm thinking, the fact that this guy's humming so well, doesn't that outweigh the statistical advantage? And I don't know the statistics, maybe you do, but it seems that when you're trading off between the statistics of something like that and the psychology and the performance, that the performance should really count. I wonder what your opinion is on that.
Yeah, and it should, to a point. I think there's history that goes involved with that. Like, if you can't get lefties out, say you're a right-handed pitcher, and they're hitting 700 off you, 500, 400, whatever, and you're just humming along, you're dominating righties, and a lefty comes up. But the problem is the statistics says that guy hits 600 off of you, and it's a one-run ball game. I'm going to pull you. Because statistically, I can't take the risk. You are humming along doing pretty good, but for whatever reason, lefties see better. And if we give up a homer right here, now we tie a ball game. If we're up by 4 and we got 2 outs and the lefty comes up, have at it. If he gets a homer, great. If he hits a single, great. If you get him out, great. I don't care. And there's a righty coming up after him, so pitch to him. See what happens. I can't do that in a different role situation. If it's a game-changing moment, I'm going to go with what I know. And because of how Bochy and a lot of these old school managers ran it like that, that's where they changed the game, where you got to face a minimum of 3 batters. Stupidest. I mean, there's a lot of dumb rules the commissioners put in, but that's one of them. Because it's just like it doesn't make sense. There's a strategy. The game is strategic. When you started making a cookie cutter situation, you're taking all strategy out of the game, and now it's just a crapshoot up there. Like, to me, you don't want to do that. I want to see a chess match. Make that manager outmanage the other guy. We can't do that. Now you're handcuffing him. And to me, that is taking away the purity of the game. Putting a runner on second base, taking away the purity of the game. Great, now we're doing that? Like, this is the Little League? Like, this is the big leagues. Like, I'm not donating a freaking run here. Like, I mean, so that to me is like where we're messing it up, because they're trying to take away the chess match. And I think you got to keep that. But again, they're humming along great until it doesn't. And there's certain times where I'll let it go, and there's certain times where I won't let it go. And that's just because I want to go with my gut on it. But you are right in some aspects.
Hi, my name is Ann Cook. I'm with the Ultimate Sports Guide, and I'm just questioning the mark of excellence for a pitcher is winning 20 games. And I'm just wondering that, as opposed to no-hitters or perfect games, how many of those do you see actually coming up in the next few years?
20-game winner, probably not. I think that mark, you're right. When I played, that was a mark of excellence that you're like, whoa, 20-game winner, like, it's great. Probably not going to happen based on the whole idea of like, yeah, you're going to go 4 innings and we're going to bring in an opener and bring in another guy. It's like, what? Like, so you're not going to see a lot of that. I also think some of the 20-game winners, sometimes statistic guys will probably tell you, Matt Cain never won 20 games, but he also got like 1 run a game. So it's like, if he would have been on the Yankees, pitching like he pitched, where they're getting 6-7 runs a game, he probably wins 20 a lot because of how he could pitch, right? So sometimes it's who you're with. But the no-hitter, the perfect game, man, you can't. You got to have guys that have the ability to go that deep in a game. There's very few of them. A Webb could probably, a guy like Webb, does he have a chance to throw a no-hitter or a perfect game? Yeah, he does, because he can throw a lot of ground ball outs, and he can throw to the bats, and he can go deep into the game. There's not a lot of those guys anymore. So can it happen? Yeah, it can. You'll see a lot of team no-hit. Now you're like completely okay with a team throwing a no-hitter against somebody. And if I was a starter, I'd be irate if you pulled me with no hits. But now they do it, they don't care, because they go with analytics. So you're just not going to see a lot of one-pitcher no-hitters, but I think you'll see a team effort no-hitter happen just the same.
Well,
Perfect games.
I think, too, what in terms of the 20-game winner, when I was growing up, there were 4 starters in rotation, not 5.
Mm-hmm.
So every 40 starts a year was what they got. Now with 5 starters, you get 32 starts a year. So that's 8 less starts. That is a whole lot harder than to get to 20, even without all the other things that Jeremy mentioned. So
That's a good point.
Really tough.
Hello. I have a question from the standpoint of young people becoming players.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts about, or do you have an opinion about the increasing number of Tommy John surgeries that we're seeing with high school and young college kids?
I've got a huge opinion on that. And I'm about to do a podcast on it eventually. But the problem is they're playing too much. So when you're seeing these teams, like where I live in Boerne, Texas, we've got 12U players playing 120 games a year. 12 years old. 120 games? Like, I was in high school, I played 16 games in high school in the season, and if you got to the state championship, you played 8 more. That's 20 games. And then I played 20 in summer ball. I mean, that's 40, 50 games. These 12-year-olds are playing triple that, and they're going all over the place, and they're throwing all the time, and then they're not just that. By the time they're done, now they're working with special coaches, and they're throwing some more, and it's pressure. There's no 3-sport athlete anymore. And back in my day, you had to be a 3-sport athlete. You played 3-sport athletes because it was well-rounding you. So you played baseball, explosive, great. Then you played basketball, great for footwork, which you need in baseball. Great for agility, great for baseball. And you did that in basketball. Or you played soccer, or you played football. All agile sports, getting you to do different things, developing different parts of your athleticism. Well, now you're getting one track. So now you're just playing baseball. You have to decide now, because if not, people are going to advance over you, or coaches are going to take a guy that's like, well, how many? He played 120 games. I know him. He only played 30. Now I want this guy. So now you get past. So now you have to play more just to keep going, which is now putting undue pressure on your physical, on your body physically. So the Tommy Johns are going to happen because they're getting overused way earlier in their life, and they're all trying to throw hard. All you see on Instagram now is how you throw the 90-mile-an-hour fastball, and you got to get this and get this explosion to go. Look, we upticked him 4 miles per hour. And all of us guys that have played the game before were like, or throw 84 on the black, because a kid can't hit 84 miles per hour, 90 miles per hour, 100 miles per hour, 75 miles per hour right here if he's thinking right here. You can't do it. So teach them to pitch. But they want to throw 90 miles. They all want to throw hard, and they don't listen. I got a whole high school team right now in Boerne, Texas, that they have literally said, I've had some of them come up and tell people on the side who have got back to me and said, if Jeremy's going to come talk to us right now about leadership or teamwork, we don't want to go. You're going to not want to talk to a major league pitcher about how to be a team? Or, you know what, my son came up to me and said, one of the pitchers on the team came up to me, and I tried to tell him, Dad, I tried to say, like, hey, you should go talk to my dad. He's like, he's washed up. I got this. Oh, you at 16 got it. And I went and watched him pitch, and I watched him give up 4 runs, and I'm like, oh yeah, you got it. You're giving up 4 runs in a high school baseball game in the 3rd inning. You're locked in, bud. Like that's how they think now, because they think, I've played all these games, and I have a special instructor that I go to. I don't need to listen to guys that have been there. And that's how they're looking at it now, but then they're wondering, and he blew out his elbow 2 games ago. because he didn't. I saw what was wrong with him, but he don't want to listen to me because I'm washed up. So great, but now you blow your elbow. Now I don't feel bad for you. Go get Tommy John and hang with him for 16 months. So that's the problem right now. Is there's the blind leading the blind. No one's giving these kids direction, and all the parents think their kids are going to make it to the big leagues, and all they got to do is play 100+ games a year and get exposed, and that's the problem. And they're forgetting about the body.
Well, thank you for your awesome presence here with us.
Yes, ma'am.
I have 1,001 questions. I'll ask you one. What is it about Buster that, kind of said hands off, and now people are saying this is the Buster era, and you can see the team chemistry is just jubilant and relentless, and I'm attributed to Buster's presence. And what is it about him that does it?
Yeah, I would agree with you. After 3 weeks in the season, I wouldn't start getting too crazy, but I'm not disagreeing with you. I think what Buster brings is a few different things. One, he understands the game of baseball. He understands how a baseball player ticks. He's coming at a really good time right now. You give it 4 or 5 years down the road, we'll see how things are, because right now he's played with a lot of these guys. So they all want to play for him because they're like, we loved him as a teammate. Now he's the president. We want to win. So there is that want to going on right now, right? He gets further away from the game where some of these players haven't played with him or for him or against him. It's just a little different, So his ability to control culture is going to be super important the more or the longer he is in this position because of the players that are going to be coming in. But it really is the culture they're starting to understand. He's bringing in Righetti back into the fold again, which he's like pretty much a savant when it comes to pitching, right? So he's as a voice. He's got Bobby Evans, who honestly, he was a great GM. He got scapegoated, and he didn't need to. He understands how to be a GM. He really does. But he's got him as a voice now to listen to wisdom. And what Buster does is he doesn't react. He doesn't make reaction-type decisions. No matter what's going on, he did it as a player. He kind of, hold on, let's not make a quick decision. We don't want to make too fast of a decision because then we're going to make a bad decision based on an emotional situation. Let's see the big picture. So he gets a lot of people in there. He knows he was a player. He hasn't been a president of a team for just a few months. He never was a GM. He's learning as he goes. So he's bringing the people in to help him, and he's a very good listener. But he also is a very smart baseball player. So he understands situations. So he's got a lot of those characters and qualities about him, and he brings in the history. All the pictures of all the history of the baseball of the Giants were taken off the walls. He put them all back on the walls because he wants guys to remember the history of the game, because it was trying to be erased from everybody. And he said, no, we're putting it all back up. We're going to remember what we are now, what we were then, and what we were back then, because the Giants have a history about them that everybody needs to respect, and they didn't know when they put on this uniform what they're respecting. What Willie Mays fought so hard for, Willie McCovey, Will Clark, Dave Dravecky, all these guys, like McCovey, all these guys, what they brought here. And then what we brought in the era that Bonds, what Kane and Lincecum and Bum and Buster and the core for what we brought here, we need to remember to show this is how we do things. And this is what's going to win. And then we use other stuff that we have to use nowadays in the game now. So Buster's really smart about that. So I think he's going to be a good one. I really do. I think it's time will tell, but I think it's a good sign.
Jeremy, I'm going to ask you a question about the mental game. But first, I want to say every time you got up there, I had confidence.
Thank you. Thank you.
And I hope that you'll be part of the broadcast group.
Thank you.
Okay, so here's the situation.
Okay.
When you were on the mound, runners on second and third, late in the game, say 8th inning, you just walked in a run.
Mm-hmm.
No man or one man out. Giants are up by a run. What are you telling yourself?
Well, I'd probably step off the mound now with a shot with the timer. I would probably, no, I was thinking with the baseball timer, like going, I got to pitch within 15 seconds. I like the pitch within 15 second situation because I do believe the psychology of the game favors the pitcher in that. But I would probably take my hat off and try to fix my little speaker thing on purpose. Like, I can't, hold on, because I'm trying to slow the game down. So I'd figure out a way that I could strategically slow the game down. I used to just step off the mound. Hold on a second. Let's let it calm down. So I'd figure out how to do that. And then I'd take a big, deep breath, and I would just try to remind myself what my control and my uncontrollable is. Nothing in the past is in control now. That's in the past. That's an uncontrollable. My controllable is my delivery, taking a deep breath, trusting my stuff, and executing this pitch right here to get this out, to keep the run from scoring. What do I need to do to execute that pitch? If it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out, but that's all I know I can control. And so that's how I would slow the game way down. Because in those situations, the game is sped up. I'm trying to slow it back down again. And so that's kind of what I would probably do right there.
Okay, thank you. First of all, I've learned more about baseball in this last hour than probably out of 10 other books that I've read or any game broadcast. You said a few minutes ago, and I agree with you, that you don't like the extra inning ghost runner.
Yeah.
Giving somebody second base. I don't like, and I'd love to hear what you feel about intentional walks. Personally, I don't like them. A couple nights ago, they walked somebody intentionally in the Giants game, and he scored.
Yeah.
I don't like it. So what do you think? I mean, I'm not a baseball player, so I'm not entitled to an opinion, really.
Yeah, no. Good question. I don't mind the intentional walk if it's strategic. What I do not like, and I agree with you, and I'd love to know because it did backfire on him, I do not like an intentional walk when he's the go-ahead run. And that's what happened. And I said it when he did it. I'm like, Melvin's great. I would trust him if I played for him. But I didn't really understand that decision because he intentionally walked the go-ahead run. I would rather be like, hey, man, if you're going to beat me, you're going to beat me. You're just going to beat me the other way. I always felt like I don't have a problem if I'm walking a guy because I'm trying to set up a double play and I'm going to get it, and I'm trying to set up that force out. But if I'm going to put the go-ahead runner on, that's a big risk to take because it is the go-ahead run, and I would rather make the go-ahead run beat me the other way. So I always thought about if he's a righty, he's got to beat me to right field. If he's a lefty, he's got to beat me to left. It's really hard to hit, oppo power. So for me, that's what I try to, especially in that ballpark, the way the wind blows, like you're going to have to beat me to right. Like that, I'm going to believe the wind's going to knock that ball down most of the time. I know it's changed a little bit with the new change at the stadium, but when I played, that's how I would think. But if it's strategically to create a force at a certain bag, I'm gonna be okay with it. Or if the guy's just really, really hot at that time, and I'm trying to face a lefty, and I got a righty up, and he's hitting 460 off me, and he's got like 4 jacks. I'm probably going to intentionally walk you and then go out and go after a lefty. And I don't like the pitch around. For me, I don't like the pitch around. Like, hey, we're not going to intentionally walk him, but don't throw him a strike. Okay, until I accidentally do. Like Bochy did that to me one year. He's like, hey, funny story, if I've got time, it's a Buster story too, it's great. He comes up to me in Arizona, and he's like, hey, Goldschmidt's the only guy carrying this entire team. He's got like 7 homers in the last 6 days. He's the only guy really hitting and driving in runs. Do not let him beat us. He's up. He's like, I've had a pretty good against. I pitched pretty good against him up until that point. And he's like, just don't throw a strike. Just make him swing the bat because he wants to swing the bat because he wants to carry the team. So just get himself out. Okay, so we're 3-2. I'm throwing balls. He's still swinging at him. We got him. I'm 3-2, and then Buster's like, all right, fastball away. He set up 6 inches off the plate. 6 inches off the plate. 2-run homer. And I'm like, and I look over at Matt Cain, and it's his game, and I've blown a few of his games. And Matt just pulls the hat over his head, and I'm like shaking his head, and I'm like, dang it. And I look, and I'm like, oh, man, lefty gets up, ground ball. Last out of the inning, 3rd out of the inning. And I come walking in, and I don't even want to look at Boch. Boch is just staring at me, and I'm like, oh, my gosh. So I'm just sitting there, and I go over to Matt, and I'm like, hey, he's like, I don't want to talk to you right now. I'm like, sorry. So Matt's mad at me. Boach is mad at me. I go in. We get pulled into the next day in the office, and he's like, hey, I need to talk to Buster and Affel. I need to talk to you guys in my office. So I look at Buster, and I'm like, oh, boy, we're going to the principal's office. Here we go. So we walk down. We sit down, and he's like, what did you guys think when I meant don't throw a hittable pitch? And he says like this, so what do you guys think when you guys said don't throw a hittable pitch? And I'm like, it wasn't a hit. It was 6 inches off the plate. It wasn't even a strike. He's like, well, it was in the air, so he was able to hit it. Like, couldn't you not throw a curveball in the dirt? Right? And I'm looking, and I'm sitting there, and Buster's just sitting there. And I'm having to answer all the questions. And so I looked at Boach, and I was like, hey, man, Buster called it. And Buster shoots a look over at me, and I'm like, you did. Like, I'm sorry, you called it. I was trusting you, man. You could have called curveball in the dirt. I throw it. You called fastball. I was throwing it where you asked for it. And so Buster just kind of looks at me. He just shakes his head. He just stares. He's like, sorry. Yep, should have thrown a curveball in the dirt there. And Buster and Boach's like, all right, well, we've been playing good. I'm just trying to make sure we understand communication. And I'm like, yes, sir. So we get up and leave, and Buster's like, bro, you just threw me right under the bus. I'm like, yeah, you're Buster Posey. You signed a $160 million deal. I'm a left-handed reliever. You're going to get in trouble, and they're going to say it's okay. I get in trouble, they release me. It's your fault. So, he was like, oh, it makes sense. Like, yeah. So that's kind of how that works. So.
I mean, another thing in answer to your question, and here I go with statistics and analytics again, but I think it's crystal clear from the analytical studies that you never intentionally walk a guy, with the exception of sometimes if there's a man on second and first base is open.
That's right.
That would be the only time. And, when Barry Bonds was playing, they said, well, we're not going to let Barry Bonds beat you. There'd be a guy on first, they'd walk him, and the next giant up would get a single. Now tell me Barry Bonds didn't beat him with that walk. So
yeah.
It's just generally a bad idea to intentionally walk people.
Yeah.
All right, there's time for one more question.
Ooh, from the back row.
All right.
What was your favorite moment with the Giants? What resonates with you?
Yeah.
Like, that was the coolest thing ever.
Great question. I had a favorite moment, and then I had another one, and then another one topped that one, and so it's kind of probably Game 7 in 2014. Reason being, a couple reasons. One, so I came up with Kansas City, and it was near the end of my career, and I didn't know how much longer I was going to get to play. In 2015 was the last year of my contract, so I knew a decision was coming. And so when I left Kansas City and I got traded to the Rockies, I hated playing baseball. We lost all the time. I had injuries. It was just a bad deal. Mentally, I wasn't there. I really wanted to take my ball and go home, to be honest with you. I just can't quit. It's not in me to quit. And my dad instilled that in me at a very young age, to never quit. So I couldn't do that, but I was going to play until they took the uniform. So I was hoping I got released, then I just go home. And I got traded and found love of the game again. Well, 2014, I'm back in Kansas City. The first time I've been back in Kansas City since I got traded. And I walked off that they gave me Game 7 win as a champion. So for me, the circle of life of coming up in Kansas City, very thankful for them giving me the shot, to learning to actually hating the game when I left, to coming back and playing for a world championship, and then being able to then I got given the win on that same ballpark, on that field that I got brought up in. I mean, it doesn't get any better for me on the circle of life than that, right? So that was a favorite moment, but the other reason being is how that game unfolded, of just, being brought into that situation, coming through in a big situation in that time. It just, for me, it was just, it was the perfect end. Even though I played in 2015, one of the reasons why I decided to retire is because I really felt 2014 was the perfect end to my career, in the sense of being on that field, winning a third world championship, which gave all three of my sons now a ring, which is super important, because every son that I had was born on a World Series year. So, but my oldest was born in 2007 when we lost to the Red Sox in 4 games on the Rockies. So my son was getting a loser ring, which is what we call a National League or American League Championship ring. It's a loser ring. The only reason you get that is because you lost the World Series. So my son had a loser ring, and the other 2 had World Championship rings. So I was like, man, that sucks for you, dude. But then when we won it, now I got all 3 of my sons that get one now, right? And so that was super important to me. And then how it happened, where it happened, all that. So, man, for me, I didn't wear it. It's just because I forgot, because I'm a left-hander and I totally forget I have rings sometimes. But it's usually the ring, almost the only ring I wear when I go speak somewhere is my 2014, because that one it just means a lot to me. Even though 2010 was the first one here, personally, for me, the 2014 means a lot to me. Yep. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.